Israel launches new ground offensive seeking to force end to Gaza war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described Gaza City as Hamas's last important stronghold. By Dov Lieber, Alexander Ward and Abir Ayub. September 16, 2025. 3:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Israel launched a long-anticipated ground offensive into Gaza City early Tuesday morning, people familiar with the matter said, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seeks to end the war against Hamas with military force instead of diplomacy. The assault kicked off with a heavy bombardment of the Gaza Strip's most populous area, where hundreds of thousands are believed to still be sheltering following almost 2 years of war that has flattened much of the rest of the seaside enclave. Netanyahu has called the city the last important stronghold of Hamas, a U.S.-designated terrorist group, and he has argued that conquering it would deal a decisive blow. The size of the troop movement isn't clear, and analysts said this was only the initial phase of the ground operation. "It's just the first step," said Yaron Buskala, a lieutenant colonel in Israel's military reserves and chief executive of Israel Defense and Security Forum, a security-oriented think tank. "It's airstrikes and artillery and some ground forces, but we will see more in the next days getting in." Gaza City residents reported a frightening barrage of military force overnight, with explosions, gunfire and helicopters raining down around them. The wail of ambulances pierced the silences between bombs. "I wish I could leave," said Mana Ashi, a 30-year-old mother of 3, in the Rimal district of Gaza City. Israel has mobilized tens of thousands of reservists in anticipation of the ground offensive, which aims to defeat Hamas once and for all after its October 7, 2023, attacks killed 1,200 Israelis and resulted in some 250 hostages being taken into Gaza. The Gaza City ground operation began shortly after Netanyahu met with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is pushing for a ceasefire desired by President Trump that would end the war and release the remaining hostages. Rubio left Israel with a pessimistic view of a peace deal's chances. "Ultimately, we would all prefer to see a negotiated end that leads to all the hostages being released, that leads to Hamas being disarmed and eliminated as a threat," he told reporters early Tuesday. "The Israelis have begun to take operations there," Rubio said of the Gaza City offensive. "So we think we have a very short window of time in which a deal can happen. We don't have months anymore, and we probably have days and maybe a few weeks." Israel is expanding the war at a time when Gaza is largely subdued. Israel says it holds 75% of the Strip. 2 million Gazans are crammed into Gaza City, an evacuation zone called Al-Mawasi, and other camps. The Israeli military has been trying to push the estimated 1 million Palestinians in the Strip's north, where Gaza City is located, to flee south ahead of an offensive. The United Nations has estimated only around 200,000 have heeded the call. An Israeli security official said that number is closer to 320,000. While its troops already control 40% of Gaza City, the Israeli military has been playing a game of whack-a-mole elsewhere, defeating Hamas in one neighborhood, only to see fighters pop back up and establish themselves elsewhere. Ending that cycle is one of the offensive's objectives. The operation has been widely criticized in European capitals and among aid groups for expanding the conflict amid dire humanitarian conditions in the enclave. Israel's security establishment has also pushed back against the plan in favor of pursuing a limited deal to release more of the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Officials fear hostages could be killed in the fighting and are concerned that troops are exhausted after nearly 2 years of war. Polls in Israel have shown for months that a large majority of the population, including right-wingers, support ending the Gaza war in exchange for freedom for the remaining hostages held by Hamas. Tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets of Israel on Saturday to protest Netanyahu's expansion of the war, in one of the largest anti-war demonstrations in recent months. As the bombardment of Gaza City intensified Monday night, families of hostages set up a tent encampment outside Netanyahu's Jerusalem residence, where they spent the night and called on Israelis to join them. "Our loved ones who are in Gaza are being bombarded by the Israeli military at the order of the Prime Minister," said Anat Ongrest, the mother of hostage Matan Ongrest, who Israel believes is alive. "We are terrified it will be their last night and that the living hostages will pay with their lives." The campaign comes days after Israel struck Hamas political representatives in Qatar, part of an expanding pressure campaign against the group. Write to Dov Lieber at dov.lieber@wsj.com and Alexander Ward at alex.ward@wsj.com.